Hi there, whatever you just heard right there was me from the future, because right now I actually have no idea what I'm about to play. We're about to look at a completely random etude for the first time and just learn it from scratch together. Usually I spend a good amount of time writing a script, which has been really fun. I always learn a lot when I do that. But for this video, I just want to try something different. I want to speak off the cuff and show you my naked process of how I learn an etude. Now, is reading etude a replacement of transcribing solos by ear? Absolutely not. Hearing and learning a solo that you just really like is definitely the king. But if you're already doing that, then reading etudes is super fruitful. It gets your reading chops up. It's another way to find some language that you really like. It's a nice way to test your musicality. It's a nice way to work on technique. There's an infinite amount of benefits you can get from reading etudes. Alrighty, so what etude are we going to learn today? Again, I have no idea, but I got my iPad here and I've already chosen the book. The book that we're going to look in is one written by Chad LB entitled Modern Etudes Melodic Scales. If you end up interested in this etude, you can find the link to download it in the description below and use code SAL5 for $5 off. All right, so I'm gonna put this iPad on my stand here. So what tune do I feel like looking at? Looks like we got Chad's Blues and Chad's Rhythm Changes. All the Things Are. I love these titles. They're so silly. The Yardbird Suite. I actually really like this tune, the Yardbird Suite. I feel like there's probably a lot of good stuff in this. I think I want to check out this one, because this is a pretty tricky tune to play over. So I'm looking at this, and again, this whole book is based off of melodic scales. And I've been working on the melodic scales. We've been doing them in the Shed Club. I think in week 3, Chad LB gave a lesson in the Shed Club, which is our online music studio that any of you can join. And right now we've got over 30 weeks worth of lessons and there's several hundreds of members. It's really positive atmosphere. Everyone's really supportive. In week 3, there's this melodic scale that Chad LB taught to the online music studio. It's still there in the archives tab. If you do end up joining and you want to watch it, you absolutely can. It's still there. But I've been working on it ever since. Sounds like this. Etc. It is so fun to try to play it within my own solos and try to recover and get back into harmony on the spot. It's like, for example, if I were to play a blues. 1, 2, 3. Etc. And so I'm especially interested to seeing how does the Yardbird Suite incorporate melodic scales and how does Chad resolve them in the ways that he does. So this is going to be a pretty fun exploration. Let's go ahead and do this. Like I said, I've never seen this etude in my life. This is the absolute naked process. Alrighty, so whenever I look at an etude that I am really going to commit to playing well, I always just start off with chunks in a way that feels natural and play it slow. Let's sight read measure 1. So what I'm seeing is what Chad has coined as a compound melodic scale. A compound melodic scale is when you take 2 different cells and you put them together as one cell. That is what I'm seeing right now. So we look at the first 4 notes, then look at the first 4 notes of the next measure. It's the same cell, just transposed up a 4th. Oh, wait, I actually got something wrong. Check out the intervals. First we have a major 2nd, and then we go up a perfect 4th. The second time, we have a minor 3rd, and then go up a major 3rd. So it's relatively the same shape. This is not a compound melodic scale. However, the second half of both of those measures is a true cell that Chad seems to transpose. So we have our note, chromatically walk down, and we'll return back to the note we started on. Next measure, second half. Now in that 3rd measure here, we definitely see a cell. Cool, so if we were to think of that from that E there, you could think of this as a 1, 2, 4, 5. Now in this F sharp dominant 7 chord, we have a very similar shape, but it's not quite the same melodic scale. This is just a C minor 7 arpeggio that starts on the 5th of this F sharp 7. Cool, and that B at the top smoothly voice leads to that 3rd with just a half-step interval. It's a nice little resolution. Okay, cool. So before I go on, I'm just going to play it a few times, make sure that feels kind of nice. try it again. Cool, so that's feeling pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna put that aside. We're gonna take a look at whatever the next phrase is. So here is the second line. I'm gonna play it really slow. Wow, this is definitely a melodic cell. There's a lot of chromaticism going on, so I'm just going to double check, make sure I got all the accidentals right. I would hate to practice the wrong notes. So I'm just gonna sort of scan through, just be double confident that everything's accurate. Wow, that's pretty wild. Let's hear the chords at that part. So starting on the B7, 1, 2, ready. So how he outlines this with a melody is by incorporating the objective of this book, showing how to play melodic cells. We start off the B7 with 2 chord tones, flat 7 and 5, and then a chromatic leading tone into the 9. And really, this is just the beginning of a long enclosure that targets the flat 7 of that E7. And then from this D, you can think of this as a first inversion B minor 7 arpeggio. Right after that, we have our melodic cell. Now, there's a slight variation. It happens right after, but that last interval is a little higher. This is actually the cell from that week 3 of the Shed Club I just mentioned earlier. Well, what a coincidence. Seriously. That was a cell in F sharp minor. We start on the root of whatever the key of your cell is in. And this is definitely a compound melodic cell, right? These are 2 cells put together. That's one cell. And that's the other one. So we're on F sharp. We chromatically walk our way down to the flat 7. And then we skip up to the minor 3rd of F sharp. Then we return to the F sharp. And then we skip down to the 5 and go back up to the flat 7 and finally play the root for the last note of the cell. Now what's really cool is how Chad weaves his way back out of the melodic cell here. In measure 10, that D minor 7, it sounds like the cell is still going, but it's actually a slight difference in that this is a 4-note enclosure around the flat 7 of that G7 chord. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and brush over that whole phrase, make sure there's no glaring challenges. If there is, I'll go ahead and address that. But here we go. Cool, so I feel like that phrase is good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next phrase. Starting at that F sharp 7 chord. 1, 2, ready, go on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's our melodic cell there. Looks to be a compound melodic cell, as if we were to think of that first note in our B dominant 7, if we think of that as the 1 of a melodic cell, so D is 1, we have the 1, 2, 3, 1 of D. And right after it, we have the 1, 2, flat 3, 1 of B minor. So there's the second cell. So we're going to combine this cell. It looks like Chad does it again, up a half step. So we have the 1, 2, 3, 1 of E flat major. And then we have the 1, 2, flat 3, 1 of C minor. Interesting. So now we just landed on a fat, perfect 4th on A major 7 chord. And this is an avoid tone. And Chad is a very, very intelligent player. So I have a feeling he's going to resolve this in a really, really slick way. Let's see how he does it. And play it slow. 1, 2, ready. Ooh, okay. Wow, okay. So usually when you see a perfect 4th by an intelligent player, very early within a 1 chord, you're going to see that 3rd incoming. And the reason why is the perfect 4th, historically within the classical era as well, this is known as a suspension. A suspension is something that suspends, it delays a resolution. So it means the resolution is coming, just not yet, just hang on a little longer. That's what a suspension is. And so this is what he does. But what makes it extra tasteful is how he embellishes it with the rest of that measure. Ooh, if that was the final chord of this entire etude, that would have been a wonderful ending. But this is a segue into a minor 2-5-1. So let's see what's going on here. Okay, so that's so interesting. So we have a D sharp half diminished 7 chord. But if you look at the first 4 notes, it really just looks like a 1, 2, 3, 5 shape of A major. So what does that have to do with this chord? Well, that A is the flat 5 of this chord. And the flat 5 is actually arguably the most important chord tone within a half diminished chord. It's really what makes this chord unique, and it voice leads pulling downwards to the root of the 5 chord right after it. Right, so A to G sharp. You hear that pull? Anyway. Beautiful set of notes there. We have both of the altered ninths, the flat ninth and the sharp 9, and we voice lead our way down to the minor 3rd of that destination chord, that C sharp minor 7. Awesome. So I'm going to play that phrase a few times and make sure I can work out all the kinks. All right, so that feels good. Let's go ahead and move on. We're making good progress. We're out on measure 18. This etude's almost over. Darn. Let me just sight read the whole thing slow. Wow, that was a lot of information. I did not even comprehend most of that, but I did notice the sort of main melodic cell within that. Sounds like that very first one. Right in that D sharp half diminished chord. The cell right after it, we kind of repeat it right after, but there is a slight variation. You can hear the interval. Here's the first one. Here's the one right after. So same general shape, but definitely a different set of intervals inside. But right after that, we see that melodic cell from that first measure of this phrase return, but now it's in C rather than F sharp like it was in the beginning. And then the second half of F sharp dominant 7. And as the line continues, we play the flat 3rd of this chord, nice voice leading, and then an enclosure around the root. And we just walk up the scale, and then what do you know? Interesting. So the second half of that B minor 7 sort of sneak peeks a cell incoming, but it's not the cell itself. The cell itself is the same cell that we saw in the 3rd measure of this etude. It's that 1, 2, 4, 5 shape again. And then we weave our way out of it, playing some bebop. That's straight up B dominant bebop scale. Starting from the flat 7, we go up and go back down till we land back on the flat 7. And then we play a very familiar line. We actually just saw this line in measure 5. So we see it again here. This time it starts on beat 3. When we land on that flat 7, there's a slight difference this time. We're going to play the 1, 2, 3, 5 of D, or you can think of this as a melodic upper structure from the flat 7. And then we resolve on the 3rd of that A major 7. We got a nice little resolution there. These are definitely the hardest measures of this entire etude so far. And looking ahead right now, I think this is the hardest measures of the entire etude in general. I'm going to go through it a few more times. So right now, I'm going to try to adopt a strategy that I actually learned from a Cecil Alexander video within our channel, Upgrade Your Guitar Technique. He says a strategy, once you have the muscle memory down, just floor it. See where the weaknesses are. Don't expect to play it right. Just go as fast as you can. See where the weaknesses are. So this is an example of what that looks like. Cool. So interestingly enough, I would not have predicted this. The part that gave me the most trouble was that F sharp down a 7 bar. Literally, it was the easiest looking measure. You never know what's going to trip you up till you try it. Isn't that life? So I'm just going to go back to playing slow, but put a little bit of extra attention on those. So I'm going to isolate that and really focus on those measures. Start a few before. Now I'm going to play a nice medium fast tempo and call it a chunk well practiced. So, looks like we have one phrase left. Let's go ahead and see what it is. Start on this D minor 7, just play it really slow. Ooh. Oh, I played a wrong note on that A major 7. What did I do? Ooh, I like that. I did it on accident. Okay, I'm getting carried away. Back to it. So let's see what the correct line was. I really like that too. I love that line. Wow, excuse me. As you can see, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I hope this can give a sneak peek of how fun you can do this. I mean, imagine you just scroll through the whole book and have these sort of adventures. There's so much to find. It's like going through a treasure that you just discovered. And like, ooh, this is a nice piece of gold. Oh, look at this nickel. Whoa, look at this silver. Wow, this is a necklace. Whoa, this is the helmet of Ra from Egypt. All right, anyway, so let's see what was happening there. So it's sort of like a teaser 1, 2, 3, 5 shape backwards. So 5, 3, 2, 1. But he puts a chromatic passing tone between the 2 and the 1. So rather than we have ah, and then we just walk up the scale. And now we're outlining these changes. We're playing straight up arpeggios, it looks like. Yes, literally arpeggios. That's literally the cell. And in a very, very standard voice leading display. Chord tone, chord tone, chord tone. Then a passing tone on the upbeat. In this case, it's the perfect fourth. And then on the downbeat, we land on another chord tone. It's excellent voice leading. Nice little half step interval. And we just walk up the chord tone, skip that flat 7. And then play the flat 7. Another example of voice leading with that nice half-step interval, landing right on the 3rd on the downbeat. Another example of half-step voice leading. This time we're going to land on the flat 7 of that chord. But right now, after that passing tone from D minor to G7, everything is strictly diatonic for literally the entire duration of the entire song, except that nice little double target enclosure on the last 4 notes before the final A major 7 bar there. The target note is B. We're going to approach it from above, play B, and then we're going to dip down to that sharp 4. There really is a chromatic leading tone below the 5th. And then we'll return to the 5th. So we play that target twice. That's a nice little exercise. We actually worked on that in the Shed Club as well. Anyway, I'm going to play this last chunk. Now I understand it a lot better. Nice and slow. And I'm going to do the Cecil method where I just floor it. I'm going to expose to myself the weak spots. I'm going to practice those weak spots as chunks. Give it some extra love and attention. And then I'm going to play it again all together. And we'll see how that goes. Okay, feels pretty easy. Now let me floor it. Okay, so I felt hesitation on those triad chords. Usually when I target something head on and it feels good, then I'll start to work from the inside and then start to branch outside and, you know, sort of compress back to where I started, branch a little further outside, compress back to that measure. So I just tackled that measure head on. Now I'm going to try 4 notes before and keep going 4 notes after. So starting on that G7. Okay, now let me start another 4 notes before and then keep going another 4 notes after. Awesome. Now that's feeling really easy. I remember that B7 giving me some trouble. So what's giving me that trouble is that big interval there. So I'm just going to target that and do that sort of from the inside out method. Now I'm going to start entire measure before. Cool. So now it's feeling pretty easy. I remember the measure right after that B7 gave me some trouble too. All right, so I played everything pretty fast. I never expect to get something way faster than what I feel is comfortable on the first day. I never want to end off there, but I like to always get in that territory within the meat of my practice, but then end off so I can solidify through my sleep a good, solid, confident repetition. So that's the purpose of this final rep here. All right, so now the last step is now I'm just going to try to play this entire etude. I'm just going to sort of recap everything I did. If there's any mistakes, I'll work out those kinks. I'll make it to the end. Start back from the beginning. Do it again. If there's any wrinkles in the shirt, I'll iron it out again. And eventually, it's just going to feel like, oh, there's no more wrinkles left. Awesome. So now I feel like I have just successfully learned the etude. I have conquered the yard barred suite. So in celebration, how about we play this whole etude again, but with the backing track, just to really seal the deal and put a stamp on this video. And then I could put it as the intro of this. And now I'm future me that the speaking intro didn't understand, but now I do. It's time to create the intro of this video. I finally understand who future me is. Alrighty, I got my headphones on and I got the backing track going. The goal tempo says 175. I think we can do it at 175, so let's go ahead and give it a shot. All right, well, everybody, that concludes our etude learning process. We have successfully learned the Yardbird Suite. This is really the Yardbird Suite, written by Charlie Parker originally. But we just read Chad LB's etude over it and we successfully learned it. It's a lot of interesting melodic scales. It was a really productive practice session, I felt. All that really took less than an hour. But of course, we can spend more than an hour. We could spend 10 minutes on an etude. Some etudes take weeks to even remotely get up to speed. Really never know, but all I know is this is my 13th year of practicing and I still just love the feeling after a nice practice session more than any other feeling in this world. I'm so glad I play saxophone. Ah, thank you, sax gods. All right, well, thank you all so much for watching this video. Again, if you are interested in this etude book, Modern Etudes, Melodic Sales, written by Chad LB, you can find a link in the description below to download it and use code SELL5 for $5 off. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe if it helped at all. And let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see from us, and let me know if you like this unscripted version of myself. See you all next time.